What if everything we thought we knew about success, happiness, and fulfillment was wrong? What if the path we were told to follow, the one paved with hard work, ambition, and accolades, was nothing more than an illusion, a construct designed not for us, but for a world that values productivity over passion, status over soul? This is the central question of Paul Miller's The Pathless Path. It's not a book filled with neatly packaged answers. It's an invitation to question, to wonder, and to imagine, to walk a path less defined by society and more by our own desires, our own sense of meaning. But before we get to the pathless path, we must first confront the one we're on. Let me ask you, how many of us are living a life we chose, and how many of us are living a life chosen for us? It starts young, doesn't it? The story we're told. Work hard, get good grades, find a stable job, climb the ladder, achieve success, and somewhere along the way, happiness will follow. But what happens when we follow this roadmap, only to discover that the destination is not what we expected? What happens when we wake up one morning, having ticked off all the boxes, and feel a profound sense of emptiness? Miller describes this as a default path, a path that has been laid out for us by the world, by tradition, by expectations that are often invisible but deeply ingrained. It's the life of conformity, of doing what's expected because, well, that's just what people do. The thing is, the default path works for some. It gives them the structure, the security, and the sense of accomplishment they need. But for others, perhaps for you, perhaps for me, it can feel suffocating, hollow. I've often wondered, how did we come to believe that success is a straight line? How did we come to equate happiness with titles, promotions, and paychecks? And why, despite all the evidence to the contrary, do we keep walking the same well-trodden road, hoping it will lead somewhere different? Miller doesn't just ask these questions, he lives them. After years of following the default path, working at one of the most prestigious consulting firms in the world, Miller did something that most of us wouldn't dare to do. He walked away, not because he had a grand plan, not because he knew what was waiting for him on the other side, but because he felt something deeper inside himself calling for change. He couldn't ignore it any longer. And so, he embarked on what he calls the pathless path, a journey without a clear destination, without a map, and without the safety net of societal approval. It's a journey filled with uncertainty, with moments of doubt and fear, but also with a sense of freedom and possibility that the default path could never offer. Isn't that what many of us long for? Not more certainty, but more aliveness. Not more stability, but more meaning. The pathless path is not a rejection of work, of effort, or of success. It's a reimagining of what those things can look like when they are aligned with who we truly are. When work becomes an extension of our soul, not just a means to an end. When success is measured not by how much we've accumulated, but by how deeply we've lived. The beauty of Miller's journey is that he doesn't offer us a blueprint. There is no one-size-fits-all solution here. The pathless path looks different for each of us. For some, it may mean leaving a corporate job to start a creative endeavor. For others, it may mean finding ways to bring more play, more spontaneity into their existing work. The key is not what we do, but how we do it. Are we living in alignment with our deepest values? Or are we simply following the script handed to us by society? But to walk the pathless path requires something that many of us find terrifying: uncertainty. We live in a world that craves certainty, that clings to the idea that if we just work hard enough, plan meticulously enough, we can control the outcome. But the truth is, life doesn't work that way. Control is an illusion, and in our desperate attempt to hold on to it, we often sacrifice the very things that make life worth living: curiosity, creativity, joy. Miller's message is clear. The pathless path is not about rejecting security or success, but about embracing the unknown. It's about learning to dance with uncertainty rather than fight against it. It's about trusting that when we let go of the need for control, we make space for something far greater: growth, transformation, connection. I wonder, what would it feel like to let go of the need for a clear plan, To allow ourselves to wander, to explore, to play? What if we didn't have to know where we were going, but simply trusted that the journey itself would reveal the way? In The Pathless Path, Miller talks about what he calls micro-adventures, small steps we can take to experiment with new ways of living and working without abandoning everything all at once. Maybe it's taking an afternoon off to pursue a passion project. Maybe it's saying no to a work opportunity that doesn't feel aligned with our values. Maybe it's simply giving ourselves permission to rest, to pause, to breathe. These micro-adventures are like breadcrumbs, leading us slowly but surely toward a life that feels more authentic, more alive. And the beautiful thing is, we don't have to have it all figured out. In fact, Miller would argue that trying to figure it all out is what keeps us stuck in the first place. I think about my own life, my own choices, how many of them have been driven by fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of failure, fear of not being enough. How many times have I stayed on the default path because it felt safer, more predictable? And yet, the moments when I felt most alive, most connected to something larger than myself, have always been the moments when I've stepped off that path, when I've dared to follow the whispers of my soul, even when I didn't know where they would lead. That's the paradox, isn't it? The more we let go, the more we trust in the unfolding of life, the more we find the very things we've been searching for: meaning, purpose, joy. Millard's journey reminds us that there is no right way to live, no right way to work. The only way is the one that feels true to us. And that path, our path, can only be discovered through experience, through trial and error, through listening to the quiet voice within that says, "This way." So, what is the Pathless Path asking of you? What small step can you take today to move closer to the life you truly desire? Maybe it's as simple as giving yourself permission to question the assumptions you've held for so long. Maybe it's letting go of the idea that success has to look a certain way. Maybe it's trusting that the unknown is not something to fear, but something to embrace. In a world that tells us to always be moving forward, to always be achieving, to always be certain, the Pathless Path offers a different kind of wisdom. It invites us to slow down, to reflect, to question. It invites us to trust that the path will reveal itself, not in the future, but in each step we take today. As I reflect on Millard's words, I'm reminded of the poet Rainer Maria Rilke, who once said, "Be patient toward all that is unsolved in your heart, and try to love the questions themselves, like locked rooms and like books that are written in a very foreign tongue. Do not now seek the answers, which cannot be given you because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything. Live the questions now." This, I think, is the heart of the Pathless Path. It's not about finding answers. It's about living the questions. It's about trusting that the journey itself, with all its uncertainty and unpredictability, is where the real magic happens. So, as you continue on your own journey, I invite you to ask yourself, are you living your life, or are you living someone else's story? And if the answer isn't what you hoped, what small step can you take today to begin writing your own? Thank you for joining me in this exploration of the Pathless Path by Paul Millard. If you found value in today's reflection, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into transformational literature. And remember, the journey is a destination. Keep walking, keep questioning, and as always, keep books over mind.